dad when they reached the barrio in New York City back in 1952. But there's somebody today as people arrive. And curious, I was just in New York this weekend, Juan. I gotta tell you, there were like more Mexican restaurants and taquerias and places in carniceria that were Mexican in El Barrio over on 110th and Lexington than Puerto Rican places. It's almost as though there is a reason. The barrio today is an immigrant community, not of Puerto Ricans, but of Mexican immigrants and from other parts of Latin America.
Congressmember Guitterrez, you don't care about making friends when you are making a very important point. When you first came to Congress, when others are making nice, it was sort of like now, right? You had the wage freeze, and so federal workers had their wages frozen, and you felt Congress members should abide by the same rules because they were exempted. Can you talk about what you did then?
Sure. Look, it's... I've been campaigning. I remember it was wonderful with Bill Clinton in 1992. He gets elected president. He comes in, he gives his first State of the Union address, right? And he talks about that we have a deficit and that we need to bring it under control. And one of the first things he says is that we're going to freeze the wages of all federal employees. And I remember as the members of the House of Representatives and the Senate stood up in applause, right? And I said, well, okay. The next morning, I asked my staff a simple question. So, we're all getting our salaries frozen? And they said, yeah, everybody but you, because you'll be exempt, because you're special. You're a member of Congress. So I called up some colleagues, and 8 of us introduced a piece of legislation freezing the salaries of members of Congress. You cannot applaud on the House floor what you believe others should sacrifice if you're not ready to endure the same sacrifices. And endure is probably a hard work when you're earning $130,000 back then. So, look, I just tried to do what I believed was right, and what I believed was consistent with a level playing field. I've done that in the Congress of the United States. Look, you asked me, do I do those things today? Rarely. Because today I'm making friends and building relationships to bring about comprehensive immigration reform. And I'm building those relationships. Most people don't remember the Luiz Guitterrez of the pay freeze and stopping our special parking at National Airport or controlling how it is we got to send out free flyers and information to our constituents even days before an election. People don't think about Luiz in those contexts today, but I write about them in my memoir so that people can see the kind of art of my time in the Congress of the United States.
Luiz, I'd like to ask you about your relationship with another larger-than-life figure, the mayor of Chicago, Rahm Emanuel. You have not always had a good relationship with him, to say the least. You backed one of his opponents when he ran for mayor. Talk about your relationship with Rahm Emanuel and what kind of job you think he's doing as mayor of Chicago.
Yeah, you know, he's tough job. Mayor of the city of Chicago. I was a city council member there. Loved doing that job. So Rahm Emanuel decides he's going to run for mayor of the city of Chicago. I don't support him. I support Gary Chico. One of the major issues that is used and brought up during the campaign, even for mayor of the city of Chicago, is what's your record on immigration? Rahm didn't have very much of a record. He had been chief of staff to Barack Obama. Barack Obama hadn't done much his first 2 years as president of the United States, and the deportations were an issue. He wins. He calls me up and he says, Luiz, I want to make this the most immigrant-friendly city in America. Well, I can't argue with that. That's consistent with my goals and my priorities. And indeed, he's done many things. He's raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for the Dreamers, so after they get their work permits, they can go on and study in college. He's made sure that the city of Chicago does not cooperate with federal authorities so that somebody has a traffic violation, they don't wind up getting deported from the city of Chicago. He's engaged. He and I have had citizenship workshops. So our relationship has evolved. He said to me, I want to take an eraser and erase the chalkboard and start fresh with you. I love working with him on issues of immigration. And I have to tell you, one of the good things about having someone as astute and as smart and with the background, is that I get to rely on him today about how best I use my energy and how best I use my time in Congress, and we get to talk about how I strategize and what tactics I use to get comprehensive immigration reform. So he is wonderful to be able to call to get this done. He wants to get it done. He wants the city of Chicago to be free of deportations too.
You do, though, today, Congressmember Luiz Guitterrez, get arrested, and you've been arrested more than once protesting. Why do you choose that form of civil disobedience?
Well, first of all, it encourages others to become involved, and it stops people from seeing you and distinguishing you as anything other than part of a broader movement. This last time, I mean, sometimes you do it because no one else will. Sometimes you do it because no one else will. That's not what happened a few weeks ago. I was honored to be with John Lewis and Raul Grijalva and so many others of my colleagues. There were 8 of us. And you could see the Capitol behind us, the place that we go to work. And there were hundreds of others that were arrested with us. Look, I think it's important because you bring energy to the community. Everywhere I go, people tell me, thank you. So there is a connection with a broader movement. Plus, it's unfair and it's unjust. The deportations aren't right. They destroy families. And sometimes it is appropriate and correct to deprive yourself of your own freedom and liberty to raise an issue so that others can be free and have liberty. Today it's not like the civil rights movement of the 60s, right? It isn't like women who had to stand outside the White House in 1917 and 1918 with Woodrow Wilson. Look, but there's still, and plus, there's a call back, right, to civil rights in the civil rights movement when the black community protested. There is that connection, and so we want to make that connection. This is the civil rights movement of today. We've got to get it done. We've got 11 million people who live in the shadows. They're exploited. So when I sit down and talk to people, I clear the table. So I can see Paul Ryan not as budget chairman, not as somebody whose budget I have voted and will always vote against, but as a friend and an ally to free 11 million people. So I create new friendships and new relationships in regards to comprehensive immigration reform, because let's face it, Democrats didn't do it in 2007, 2008, we were in the majority. Democrats didn't do it in 2009 and 2010, we were in the majority. Now we've got to do it. We have a majority in the Senate, they've done their job. And I have to figure out a way to take our minority of 201 Democrats and get to 218 votes. There's only one way you can do that. That's working with Republicans. We must put the lives,
5 seconds,
the lives of the immigrant community ahead of our partisan politics.
Congressmember Luiz Guitterrez, I want to thank you for being with us, Democratic Congressman from Illinois.
Thank
His
you,
memoir just out this month, Still Dreaming, My Journey from the Barrio to Capitol Hill. Happy birthday to Robbie Karen and Janie.
Amy Goodman.
Hi.